again. It's Chapo. We're coming to you today with another movie episode. This is a movie that we have referenced quite a few times on the show, but maybe if you're like us, it's a film that has been in your thoughts in the last few months. I'm speaking, of course, about Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. His final film, made in 1997, starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. It's based on the 1926 novella Traum Novelle, Dream Story, by an Austrian author named Arthur Schnitzler. This is Kubrick's last film and probably his most enigmatic. Is this, similar to The Shining, his cinematic coded confession about access to and knowledge of secret, elite, wealthy sex rituals and murder? Or is it an incredibly dry comedy of manners satirizing these sort of bourgeois values and aspirations of upper middle class people sort of at the periphery of actual extreme wealth and power? One thing's for certain, though, it was the most traumatic film experience for Felix since his parents made him watch Robert Altman's Gosford Park.
I wouldn't say traumatic. It was just, I want to, add the caveat. I've been up since 11.
Okay.
So
it's a long movie.
It's been a long day for me. But just the Tom Cruise's constant repetition of the previous line said by any other actor in any scene with him, the piano in every fucking scene. I know that it's probably implied that like there's darker shit going on with the sex cult, but for the most part, it's just like girl on girl action. That's what this is all a cover up for. And that's what I choose to believe it's about, because it was 1997 and that was the hottest thing available.
There are so many things about this
Angel
movie.
and Strawberry.
When I yeah. There are so many things about this movie when you watch it for the first time. Or remember when I first saw it in theater, like after Kubrick had died. There's some question about how finished the version of this is. There raises so many questions because there's so many things about this movie that or the people in it that just don't make sense or just seem off in some way. We're trying to suss out the mysteries and the enigmas of this film, and to help us do it is our good friend Nick Mullen.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Sorry, I don't have an answer.
God damn it. God damn it, dude.
All right, well, episode's over. Go home, everybody.
I was playing Flappy Bird on my phone while we watched it. So,
but you've seen this movie many times before.
I rewatched it twice in the last month and a half after the Epstein stuff.
To what extent this movie self-consciously anticipates or even references that world is an open question. But I think the best way to do it, to unpack everything that's going on here, is go through the film, because there's a lot going on here, and I think it bears further investigation. So, gentlemen, let's enter the world of dreams.
Yeah. I mean, if there is some kind of admission or expose of a secret elite world, it has to be that they fuck kids, and you just can't. There's no, even Kubrick couldn't be like, I know this is going to seem rough, but it's for art, and we need to rape the kids. It's like when the FBI ran that child porn website for 6 months to catch more pedophiles. Yeah. So that's okay, and it would be okay if, I don't know, if Martin Scorsese's next movie is the pedophile of Sicily. Or, I don't know. It's I'm sure it'd be great. And if they have to get fucking Leo to improvise a child sex scene on camera, so be it. Let it happen.
It's the scene going into the Copa in Goodfellas, only it's into a daycare center.
Yeah. It's just the DVD commentary. It's it was Jonah Hill's idea, actually. We were just filming, and then they started raping the 8-year-old, and we just thought, this is great. We're just going to see where this goes.
See, it's interesting because I've seen this movie a lot of times now, and the thing that people get caught up on, or what was so controversial about it when it came out, is that all the sex stuff. Yeah, this orgy, and I want to describe the orgy later because it's one of the funniest scenes.
It is
ever filmed.
Hilarious.
But I think people get distracted by it. This movie's about sex, because it's really not. Mm-hmm. Sex is the furthest thing from anyone's interest or motivation or behavior in this movie. All of that is just on a surface level. I think every scene and character in this movie that takes place is really all about money and class and social position. That's what people are really talking about, motivated by, and is the undercurrent that drives every interaction in this film. So let's begin. It opens with Nicole Kidman's ass.
Yes.
This was a period. This was
Her
in 19.
her titties also.
Yes.
You can see the titties, but only through the mirror. It's her ass, which is lacking, that we have direct access to.
This is this is a director's trademark.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick, there are tits in all his movies. He loved them.
She has poverty ass. So we as the audience, we have some idea of what sex is. We think we're getting to see Nicole Kidman's ass and tits when really we're only seeing her ass, right? And then through a screen anyways. The titties, which are, pretty nice, are being reflected through the mirror back at her. So she's really the only person that has access to it. We're not viewing them. We're viewing her viewing her own tits.
Mirrors are a very important trope in many of Stanley Kubrick's films. If you think of The Shining, every scene with a ghost takes place in a room with a mirror.
Yeah.
Also, as Felix alluded to earlier, a common trope in the film is the fact that Tom Cruise repeats almost every line said to him
Yeah.
before he goes on. So it is sort of a mirroring.
It would be great if he
Even
did
a
that in the
verbal
scene where
mirror.
the jocks are bullying him. They're like, yeah, you want to suck my dick? Do I want to suck your dick?
That is the first thing I've noticed the first time I'm watching it this time. Tom Cruise, and then as it goes on, other characters too have this bizarre affectation of repeating a line that's just been said to them as a question.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing an improv game where you just have to keep it
And they
going.
just suck at it.
Yeah.
Well, if you consider that the entire movie is a dream, that he's just having like a bad dream while his wife is also having a bad dream, he repeats every line said to him because all of the lines are originally sourced in his own consciousness. So it's actually originally him saying the line in the first place. So when he repeats it, it's because those were already his own words.
Interesting.
There you go.
There you
Now
go.
we're
Wow,
talking.
we're off
already
and
there.
running here.
We're
Yeah.
already cooking with gas.
We're through the mirror here. So it begins. Nicole Kidman is getting dressed. Alice and Bill Hartford are a very affluent couple who live in a gorgeous Upper West Side apartment. It's Christmas time, and they're getting ready to go out to a fancy holiday party. We see their world, which again is of very very extreme affluence, like very 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 rich people living in New York City. Then they go to the party of one of Tom Cruise, the doctor Bill Hartford's patients or clients that he makes house calls to, and this is Victor Ziegler, played by the director Sidney Pollack. They go to his house on the Upper East Side. That is, let's just say, I don't know how many stories are in the house, but let's just say 7. And then it's on the Upper East Side, and the initials JE are on the door.
Yeah.
They're at a gorgeous, gorgeous mansion on the Upper East Side, and they say hi to Victor Ziegler and his wife. They're warmly welcomed into this house, but it's immediately clear that they don't know anyone there. And Alice asks him, like, "Do you know anyone there?" And he says, "No." And she says, "How do we get invited to these things?" And he say, "This is what you get for making house calls." So he's basically only being invited to this, like, they're wealthy, but Ziegler is in another galaxy of wealth.
Yes.
Like, he represents real wealth and power and not their kind of, like, just on the outskirts, like, phony aspirations to wealth and power. They're at this gorgeous holiday party, having a bit of champagne, and we begin to see some of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's performance in this movie I would describe as, like, aliens trying to infiltrate humanity by pretending to be like them.
Yeah.
Like, Nicole Kidman has one glass of champagne and then is just, like, tore up.
Yeah, some of the finest drunk acting I've ever seen.
Yeah, Kubrick would apparently like make them do like 400 takes. I mean, it took like 16 months to
Yeah, it's one of the longest film shoots of all time.
and it was like consecutive days of shooting or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, I have read that he kind of had a disdain for them and tried to fuck with them like to an extreme degree.
I think it's very clear.
Yeah.
Like,
That's that is a great way to spend your last movie.
Yeah.
Like, he obviously didn't know it was going to be his last movie.
well, making
but
that
that's
movie
hilarious.
cost Tom Cruise like hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, the amount of movies he could have made while he was locked up on that fucking project, especially after like Mission Impossible. I mean, he could have been like Neo, probably.
Yeah.
He could have been fucking like in 6 different superhero movies.
not only that, but in the Lawrence Wright Scientology documentary, they spent those 16 months in London away from, the Celebrity Center. And that was the period where David Miscavige was losing his fucking mind because like Tom Cruise was like never more out of his orbit and control because guess what? He was being controlled by another Svengali like madman by the name of Stanley Kubrick. So you see Bill and Alice Hartford at this beautiful, black tie holiday party. And they get separated from each other, and then each of them individually begins to be incredibly aggressively hit upon. Alice by this sort of like Hungarian count who takes a drink out of her champagne glass and is just like, "My dear, have you ever read Ovid on the Art of Love?" He's like a Sebastian Gorka figure.
Yeah.
You enjoy make your cuisine.
Yeah, he slow dances with her in the entire time. Is like, would you like to see our host Michelle Malkin book? He has a wonderful John McNaughton of an anchor baby beheading the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, what's that line? He says, he's like, they say women only get married so they can do what they want with other men. It's like, who says that? What is that? Who's that?
Yeah,
what saying is that?
He has
Believe it's from a PragerU YouTube video.
Yeah, he's just the worst rich guy pickup lines. He just goes over, chugs her backwash, and is like, "Have you heard of the opera? I'm in it."
I was
Okay,
there,
man, cool.
We were watching that scene. Like, I like to go to fancy parties with like a huge novelty straw and like from across the room stick it in fancy ladies'
the
drinks and just sip their champagne. She goes, "I'm sorry, I think that's my glass," and he goes, "My dear, I'm absolutely certain of it." So he comes on real strong.
Yeah.
Real strong.
If I was your boyfriend, I would take you to get manicures 7 times a week. I'm 24 years old and a perfusionist.
That's the other thing we realized early on in this movie.
It's nice too. It's funny to imagine that character is not invited to the second party. He's just not. They're like, no, that guy's a creep.
I can't come. Sure he's not.
He can't come to the satanic orgy. That guy's gonna be fucking weird about it.
He would have been if he was at that party. He would have been talking to everybody.
Yeah, right.
That was the other thing we realized.
He would just go up to all the women in masks. I'm immortal.
He wouldn't stop.
Man.
He wouldn't fucking stop. It'd be like you can't like invite a guy that's a cokehead to do coke. He'd be like, but I like it the most. That's the fucking problem, man.
That was the other thing, is that early on in this movie, I realized that there are many uncanny parallels between Tom Cruise's character and, shall we say, a certain Texas-based perfusionist,
back surgeon. yeah. He's young.
He's like,
doesn't actually seem like a doctor.
He's like, if you my wife and daughter, we go to FAO Schwartz every day.
He did not do any doctor shit in the entire movie.
Right. Every time, we'll get into it more, but every time someone calls Tom Cruise to do doctor shit, it's just like horny women talking to him, or just like it's someone who's OD'd and he's like says their name a few times.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Tom Cruise, meanwhile, while his wife is being romanced by Sebastian Gorka, he gets pulled aside by two sort of gorgeous models and party girls who begin, again, coming on to him like
real
ludicrously hard, like, driving a truck over him, basically. And they just try to escort him upstairs, and they want to take him where the rainbow ends, which will come back later in the film. But he's sort of, sheepishly, he's grinning like a dickhead the whole time, trying to, again, not playing it off cool at all.
No.